back to another video. Today I have something that, I didn't really have planned to make, over the weekend, as many watching this already know. We lost a career, an industry legend in Ramona Fradon over the weekend. She passed away at the age of 97. And I just thought, I Ramona's work has become a kind of a focus of my collection. Even as I've kind of acquired a lot of things, various pieces of art, and I've trimmed down. But her, the things that I've had of hers have stayed. I sold one or two, a couple pieces off over time, but it's because I kind of upgraded or whatnot. But it really, when I look at my collection and what I've amassed so far, a big part of it is Ramona's work. When I discovered her work was early on in my my comic art collecting days. It's a case of having been aware of her art without really having known who she was. I remember reading some old Super Friends comic books because I love the cartoon, and that had her art in it, and I never really made the connection. Just when I read them, I wasn't really paying attention to the artist who created the comics. So, once I was more into comic art collecting, and then I made that connection, like, oh wow, like, okay, so she did the Super Friends comics that I had read, and that instantly, when you see her work, you get that vibe, you get that kind of just golden age, silver age joy from, and that's a word that I might say multiple times throughout this video, because that's the one word that ultimately, when I look at her art and when I think of her, it's joy. It's joy that comes to mind. So I figured it'd just be a good opportunity for me to kind of share what I have of her work in my collection. Some of it's stuff that I've never shared before. I haven't posted it online. No real reason. I just haven't done it. And so now it just seems like a good opportunity to kind of celebrate her life and celebrate her contribution to the industry by taking a look at some of her work. Now, I promise you, this is not going to be like a full career retrospective and with dates and not going to be like a big information dump, but it's going to be my experience with collecting her art, and in doing that, it kind of will talk about, we'll touch base on a lot of points in her career, because I've thankfully been able to kind of pick up pieces that represent different times in her career. So I don't have a huge plan. I have some art in front of me. That's why I keep kind of looking down, because I'm actually staring at her art. I've got some art in front of me, so I'm just going to kind of jump in and start off by, so the first piece that I think I picked up of hers, anybody collecting art has seen the 6x6 kind of pencil pieces that she's known for. And I think the first one I picked up this one was actually an eBay purchase. It was a Two-Face from DC Comics. Before I really made the connection of Catskill Comics, Scott Kress, who was her rep, I had seen this one on eBay, and back then it was an inexpensive $30, and I was like, wow, that is insanely cheap for something that looks that great. So it made me then think, like, okay, well, if this is $30, what else is available? And then I that's what kind of led me on the I kind of connected up with Scott Kress through Catskill Comics, and that kind of opened the floodgates as far as these 6x6 pencil pieces, because I've talked about it before. I love pencil work. I love pencil art, and Ramona's pencils, up until the very end, are they're beautiful. They're just beautiful. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of the Batman related ones that I then I started on. So once I did the Two-Face piece, I was like, oh, I should like get a bunch of Batman related pieces, because I was collecting Superman art, like the 90s kind of stuff. So I thought, well, this would be a good way to get a lot of Batman characters in my collection, and with the connection of Super Friends, and just made sense to kind of go that route. But then I also, I'll save those for a couple minutes here, but there's a Batgirl. And then I started making requests of, the ones that I've seen her do a lot. I mean, there's a lot of these that are kind of like were, her go-to poses for characters. And, I never had a problem with that. I thought that was fine, because again, even when I started buying art from her, she was 90. I mean, so who am I to say like, okay, well, can you make this, different than all the other ones? Or, so there's a Catwoman, but I just kind of kept going with the Batman themed characters, and then I would kind of inevitably throw her some curveballs, just because they are characters that they weren't her go-to characters a lot, but I would send references with Scott. And here's one that, like an instance with Mr. Freeze, when I made the request for one of these, I specifically asked, I sent a reference photo of the animated series look of Mr. Freeze. And then this is one that just popped up on Catskill Comics site. Scott posted it. She must have, I think this is a David Finch reference. I think it's David Finch. I could be wrong. But she would just kind of do that. She would just, you could tell she was just looking online for something to draw, and she used some reference photos, and then just took it from there. Here's actually a Bat family piece, kind of like a, and then so we'll do these. So these two were ones that I specifically asked for, and they're not ones that I'd seen her do before. But again, I've talked about my love of Jim Gordon and Alfred. So I did a Jim Gordon and an Alfred. So just super charming pieces. Just love those. No, actually, one of the last Batman related pieces that I got from her, it popped up on Catskill Comics, was a Batman who laughs. And this to me is like a great, it takes the Batman who laughs, kind of super dark character. But what if he was on Super Friends? What if he was in that cartoon? And that's kind of what, I saw that and I was like, oh, I love that. So again, I'm sure she was looking for some reference images and found that, and, had fun with it. I remember one batch of characters I requested was around Halloween, and I did a batch of like monster characters, and they were all kind of ones that she had drawn in the past in Super Friends, but I mean, not this one, not this first one, but there weren't ones that she would do a lot of 6x6 pieces based on. But there's a Doomsday, it just, I go back to my roots. Here's a Solomon Grundy, and Clayface. This was based on it's a Greg Capullo piece of art that I'd sent as a reference, and she kind of, just gave that pose, and I was like, it's fine with me. But this one is really, really cool. I love this swamp thing that she did for me. And then this is another one. I'm pretty sure she found a reference image online, because I feel like I've seen that before, but again, Man Bat, it's there. It's in her pencil, and I love it. It's not something that she did a lot of, but it's great. And then here's a couple. We'll do these. These are some. I've got some Superman characters in a minute, but I'll go through these. So here's a Metamorpho, co-created Metamorpho. Will always be associated with that character. So I had to get that one. I love that one. That kind of like alludes to his origins in the pyramid. Here's an old Green Lantern. Love the shadow back there. And this one, I always thought this one was like really beautiful. The Green Arrow piece. Yeah, I just thought that was a stunning one. And then this one, it was like a random, again, popped up on Catskill Comics, and I've always liked Dr. Midnight. I think it's a cool looking character. You got the owl on his shoulder. So yeah, it just was impulse buy, but loved it. A couple Superman related pieces. This is one she had done numerous times, but I specifically asked for Clark Kent, or Clark changing into Superman and then exiting the phone booth. This is one that I've not seen her do a lot of, but Lex Luthor in the power suit, power armor. And then here's another one that I already had the Superman, but I bought this at Baltimore Comic Con, and yeah, that's a beautiful looking Superman. So had to get that one. And then here I have a couple different versions of Bizarro. This is more of the, what is it, like the Ed McGuinness kind of look of Bizarro, which I'm guessing that was a reference shot that she used. And this is a more kind of like Frankenstein zombie kind of take on Bizarro. And then this one is more of I asked for this one specifically. It was a kind of like Bizarro's Bizarro's first appearance, where he was like a Frankenstein kind of clone of Superboy. So this has that kind of more kind of Frankenstein-esque look to it. And then let's see, do this one too. So then along those lines, when I was collecting the 6x6s, I saw her post a Clark Kent one, and then I sent a request and said, hey, can you have her do a like a side-by-side 6x6, so two characters of Clark and Lois Lane. So she did this one for me, which I think so. The 6x6 of Clark she did looked a lot like this one, but then I just had her, flesh out the scene and add a Lois Lane in there. And a fun story about that is she would do things over. She would do multiple versions of a piece if she enjoyed drawing them. So after I'd requested this one, a while later, I saw one pop up. Somebody had like, they bought this piece, and I was like, wait, that's the piece that I have. But it just meant that she really enjoyed drawing this, and she did it again. And some people might be upset by that, like, oh, that's. But I wasn't. I actually kind of took it as I was flattered that the thing that I asked her to do, she had so much fun doing that she did it again. So that was fun. All right, so that's the 6x6 stuff. Here is this is actually one of the, so the first piece I commissioned from her, actually, I'll put it there. It's hanging in my daughter's room. It's that Wonder Woman color bust. She did amazing, color work, ink work, pencil. They all look beautiful, but the majority of what I have is the pencil stuff. But that one was a color piece that I had her do. But then one of the first pieces that I asked for her, a larger piece, was this Aquaman, because again, Super Friends. This is the Aquaman that I think of when I think of Super Friends, and then this is her version of Aquaman that she's associated with. So I had to get that, and then a couple years later, when they did the I guess more than a couple years later, when they did the 80th anniversary of Aquaman, she did a variant cover, but she also submitted a couple of pieces for approval, and this is one that ultimately was not chosen. But I love the happier, I like the kind of stern look on this Aquaman, but this gives a more of that Super Friends vibe of happy Aquaman, so that was great. And then let's see, this is one that, again, just I didn't have a Flash piece, and this popped up on Catskill Comics one time, so I grabbed that. And then so I started to do some bust pieces to branch out from the 6x6s, and this is one that I had to kind of go with a more fleshed out look of the Lex armor. And this is kind of like his look in Crisis on Infinite Earths. So that was that one. And then a couple other bust pieces I had done. As you've seen me talk about before, Frankenstein is one of my loves. So I had her do a Frankenstein, a Boris Karloff Frankenstein look. So that one was good. And then given her association with the Freedom Fighter series, I always thought it'd be cool to have an Uncle Sam, like I Want You, kind of do like kind of like a Freedom Fighters type poster variant cover, idea. But I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I've had this for a while. I haven't done much with it, but I thought, well, I'm going to get the pencils while the availability is there, and I was thinking of it, so I'm glad I did that. Got the Uncle Sam. Let's see. So let me go. I have a couple other commissions, and then I have some published stuff. So let's see. This is all published, but I know I have some larger commission pieces in here too. Let's do these. All right, so I wanted, in having the 6x6s, I also wanted a larger Batman piece. So I'd seen her do kind of a take on what this is, but so I just asked for a version of that to kind of keep it something familiar for her. But it's Batman in front of the cave with all these bats flying out, and this is just I love this one. I mean, I could say that about every piece that I have from Ramona, because they all speak to me and evoke that joy just in different ways. So that one, yeah, love the kind of the cape flapping in the wind. So then let's see. Do this one, and then I'll, just because I've shown this one before. It's actually the last commission piece that I got from her, Jonah Hex. And it has more of a Super Friends kind of look to Jonah Hex. And I found out later from Scott that actually that was the last commission request that they took, that Ramona did, when they announced her retirement. He said she was still going to do some drawing here or there when the mood struck her, but that was the last of the actual requests that were that they took. So now here's a couple other larger commissions. All right, well, I'll do this because I've showed this one before too. This is the just unboxed this one recently. The Superman inks from Brett Breeding. But they were based on this pencil piece that she had done for me a couple years ago. And again, just a classically beautiful Superman piece that, that's just Superman being Superman. So then, on the rare occasion, I was able to get some larger 11x17 commission requests that I submitted through Scott. And here's two of those. One, I love the 6x6 Green Lantern that she did for me, but I really wanted a larger Green Lantern flying in space. He was one of my, the Superpowers, or the Super Friends cartoon that I loved, and the Superpowers toys. I always loved the Green Lantern figure, so I always kind of associate Green Lantern. Green Lantern is a favorite of mine because of the attachment to that toy and the cartoon. So that, and then also, back to Jim Gordon. I really wanted a Jim Gordon on the Gotham Police Department roof with the bat signal there. So I was able to get this one from her, and it just, come on, man, that's a beautiful piece. The trench coat, the tie flapping in the wind. That one I remember getting, and my jaw dropped. I loved it so much. I still do. So these are some published examples of her work that I have, and this first one is a really really fun one, really fun random one. So it kind of speaks to her her sense of humor, which is she's known for just being really sharp, and again, to to be fortunate enough to live to 97 and stay as talented, as sharp, um, and as witty and funny, to have that, that's a gift, and that's, I mean, we should all be so lucky to experience that. Um, so, but this speaks to her. So she did. I forget the exact the year, and I've actually. Um, I read these stories once, and I don't remember everything about them, but she did some SpongeBob comics, and in those she was it Barnacle Boy, and I forget. I'm not a huge SpongeBob fan, but they were a kind of a spoof on, Aquaman, and given her association with that character, they asked her to do this SpongeBob comic, and it kind of like lampoons Aquaman, and she's game for it. And I think that's, again, that just speaks to her funny side. So this is a page that I got at Baltimore Comic Con. It doesn't have SpongeBob or the Aquaman parody, but I loved it because it has just all like the pirate kind of themed stuff on it, like this old witch there, this pirate guy with actually has a pencil as a peg leg, and I forget what the story setup is, but it just as a page of art from Ramona, and a good pirate theme, had to get that one. So that's very fun. So when she was she took later in her career from, like, I think it was like 1980. It was like it was like a 10 or 15 year run. She worked on the Brenda Starr newspaper strip, and this is one that I picked up last year. It was always on my list to add an example from Brenda Starr to the collection. And again, Brenda Starr is not something that I read. I know a lot about, so I went through the available pieces on Catskill Comics, and then just picked out that one because it just that panel is striking, and it's kind of like a good, self-contained newspaper daily, it has a mystery of what's going on, and then she opens the door. So that one really spoke to me. And all right, so down to the last few pieces here. So this is the first first published piece of hers that I was able to purchase, and it's a striking one. It's the Wonder Woman pinup, inked by Sandra Hope, from Wonder Woman, I think number 750. They did as a chapter break kind of thing. They did some pinups to celebrate Wonder Woman, and this was the one that the Ramona drew and Sandra inked. And when this one became available, I immediately jumped at the opportunity, because it's not, at that time, especially, it's not something that I thought I was going to ever be able to own, a published piece from Ramona, let alone something that was new and published. So so this one, that's beautiful. And then to stick with the Wonder Woman theme, she later, after she did that pinup in Wonder Woman 750, they did the Wonder Woman Black and Gold series, and they did, Ramona did a variant cover for that, issue number 1. And this again was inked by Sandra Hope, and this is on a smaller board, but yeah, I love the Wonder Woman leaping out of the comic page, and that's another one. If you've seen, she did that theme often, where she has some beautiful commissions that she did where it's her. She drew herself sitting at her drafting table with the characters coming up out of the board to come to life, and that was, I love those. But I love how then she took that idea and was able to turn it into a cover piece as well. So you got Wonder Woman leaping out of the pages of the comic. And so let's see. We'll take it back a little bit to Super Friends. So I had some Wonder Twins related I had a 6x6 and a pencil commission, but I sold those off when I was able to get a page from Super Friends, and this is what Super Friends number 31, and I just it has a great team shot panel. I love, let's go Super Friends. You got everybody in that panel. The Wonder Twins are there. Aquaman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman. Yeah, and I also love the Superman crashing through the window, being very, was that this is the quickest way in. Smashes through the window. I'll repair the window later. That's Super Friends. I mean, you got this action going on, but it's Superman, like I gotta clean up my mess. So yeah, that page I absolutely love. And this one is another one I've shown on the channel before. She did, back when she did her work on with DC, Aquaman, Metamorpho. Then she took a break, and then when she came back to comics, she did an issue of Fantastic Four, one single issue of Fantastic Four. This was, inked by Joe Sinnott, and this is the only time that the two of them worked together professionally, published. Yeah, this is kind of just a beautiful page. I mean, I again, it's not. I didn't know this opportunity was going to come up, and when it did, I was happy to be able to add this one to the collection. I'm not a huge Marvel collector, not a huge I like Fantastic Four, but this era of those Fantastic Four stories, not my era. But as a fan of hers, and to try to get another representation or example of her career into my collection, I really was thrilled to be able to add this one. So, and then the last two pieces that I have are recent published examples, one pencil and one pencil and inked. But this is, I had gotten that 6x6 of Metamorpho and never thought I would, have a published Metamorpho example, let alone a cover from this is Danger Street number 3, I believe, a series that Metamorpho appeared in, but they had Ramona do a Metamorpho variant cover for that series, and yeah, that one. It was inked digitally by Doc Shaner, who is another very big fan of Ramona's work, and I talked to him last year at Baltimore. Talked to him about Ramona, about this piece, his opportunity to ink her work. He was both excited and intimidated, but that just goes to show you the respect that she had and still has from professionals. I mean, no one has ever. I've never come across someone saying an ill word about Ramona, and that speaks to her her charm and her character as well. So she will be greatly missed, but it's just I'm just so thankful that I was able to pick up what I've been able to pick up, and I'm thankful that I discovered her work when I did. So I had the opportunity to kind of pick up as many of these pieces as I could, some directly from her, which is an honor to be able to kind of to help her out in her in her first retirement, when she retired from, I think it was like in the mid '90s. She retired from doing published work. She had obviously did some things later on, but regular published work when she left the Brenda Starr series. That was her first retirement. And then she went into the commissions the phase, and she did some beautiful commissions. But okay, so last piece I want to show is a cover to Superman number 4, which came out last year. And in this story, Perry White had, I believe he had a heart attack, and then he was like out of commission for a while. I don't know if I don't know. I haven't read the comics, but anyway, Lois Lane stepped in as editor-in-chief, and so she did this story, or this cover, which it's Lois Lane. I assume like Lois Lane, first day on the job, dealing with all the craziness of the Daily Planet. Just this to me speaks again to her humor, to her you know to her experience doing newspaper dailies, in just telling stories in limited panels. Just all of the action, all of the craziness that's going on with all these characters, all the paper planes flying around. This guy, like, was it a cherry bomb in the? But then also, if you think this is actually Brenda Starr, there's a star earring that she snuck into this cover, which I think is, again, that's Ramona being Ramona. She's like, I'm gonna put a sneaker in there. So it's just yeah. I don't know if I said this one was inked by Sandra Hope as well, but yeah, this again, when I saw this one, to me, it was a perfect encapsulation of who Ramona Fradon, who she is. I mean, that's just, that it's impossible to look at this piece and not just feel joy and happiness. And that's to me, like, that's why I continued to buy all of her work. It just made me feel so happy to look at, and I will I will continue to look at these and feel happy to own them. So I know this was a long one, and it was a lot of pieces to show. It's just my way of tipping my hat to her as to celebrate everything that she gave to the comics industry. And as celebrated as she is, I feel like she wasn't celebrated enough. You do see the post now, kind of celebrating her life and the condolences sent out, which that's the other thing. I mean, to us, it's this woman who gave us so much joy through the art, but there's still family, close friends, that, while she's 97, it's still a major gut punch to lose her. So, I certainly, my thoughts go out to anyone that knew her on a personal level. I feel connected to her just from the art that I've purchased. So, I can't even imagine those that actually, sat down. I know Scott has told me before, he'd go over and sit down and have a drink with her, and just enjoy her stories and her witty banter. And so my thought goes out to people like Scott and anyone else who was able to enjoy those moments and those stories and those evenings, sharing those laughs. So at this point, I just want to send out a heartfelt thank you to Ramona, for everything that she gave us. And I feel incredibly fortunate to be able to feel that joy through her art and still be able to do that. And that's a gift that I couldn't say thank you enough for. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.